Got a video request here by Cody, who is asking what I would personally consider to be the best offense units in the game. Now, I just want to get this out of the way first really quick. This list is not final, so if you feel that there were units I should have included but didn't, feel free to include them down below. But that out of the way, 203, 270, 282, 283, 315. Also, I should bring that into this right away. Every single unit on here is duped entirely into attack. Even without that, though, they're excellent. Make no mistake about that. 320, 326, 337, 359, 361, 368, 369, 386, 388, 436, 458, 459, 469, 531, 535, 571, 576, 579, 603, 659, 701, 704, EX21, EX23, EX41, EX62, EX64, EX85, EX87, and EX100. Now, just so that you're able to see what all of their opposing skills do and what the trigger squares are, I'll go over that really quick as well. Now, besides the obvious units that have absurdly high attack, there are other things that you want to consider, like what can they bring to the table besides just having really good and high attack numbers. Great example being this UI Goku we're looking at right here. So let's say that your opponent has an ultimate attack ready and you're worried about getting wiped. Well, he pretty much makes it so that you don't have to worry about that anytime that they get an ult. For that alone, he's excellent besides his absurdly high attack, which, by the way, as long as you can keep on the field, which is going to be very rare because look at that health and defense, they're pitiful even before power creep. But if you're able to make that work, then you can absolutely get that off and make him even more absurd. But besides that, he's great enough by himself. Now, if you want to make him even more ridiculous, and you want someone to draw aggro, there is a unit in the game for that. And that will be the 16 here. So what's great about the 16 unit is a lot of past units who are not all that great, or you want to make them more viable, well, you go to 16 here. He's going to draw aggro from all your opponents. But if you're relying on 16 to make them work, then that to me means they're not a good unit. I only include units on this list who I think are good units by themselves, which is why I didn't include either 211 or 212 here. And this Mira, while he has excellent attack, he's making your master take 20% more damage. And in the case of Pycon here, while he has great stats and a great opposing skill, and decent trigger squares, you have to take off the unit to get the most out of him, and run O2 skills. So that's why I didn't include him. Now you're probably going, well, wait a minute, what about... Well, let me finish going over their stats, and then I'll get into that with Omega Shenron and Caulifla. Getting a bit ahead of myself, sorry about that. And something I want to address while we're in this row of units is, let me look at 388 really quick. So I decided to put this on the list as opposed to the other version that has more attack, more defense, and more speed. Because while he has more health, and he's getting 500 to his attack and speed each turn anyhow, and the fact that he mitigates enemy damage by 10%, makes him even more valuable, I would argue. That just makes him the better version, because if you need to put either one out front, this one is far more likely to last and stick around much longer for himself and his team than this other version. And that's pretty much the only case like that of all these units. But next row. Now, when we're not just looking at the obvious high absurd attack values on these units, you also want to consider other things. Like, does the unit provide any support? Do they ignore defense? Do they provide damage mitigation? Do they make your opponent weaker? Things like that. Which, by the way, since we're looking at Super Saiyan 4 Goku right now, I'll look at the first one. Now, I definitely wanted to include this unit on the list. The reason I didn't is because while he is arguably the best unit in the game, if not for Bikini Toa, who completely shafts him and most other offense units in the game, the reason I don't include him is because it really takes a while for him to get going. Once he does, though, he's completely unstoppable. And it's very easy to get him to stick around, especially if you dupe him entirely in HP. Like I did on this one, for example. But yeah, I'm looking for something more, you know, instant value. As soon as you put them on the field, are they useful then? Or are they going to be useful only later on? Which I'm sure some of you are already thinking, oh wait, what about that Broly then? Well, look at his attack stat and look at where his trigger squares are. One of them is in the back. That's why I included him. So he's already great by himself. You know, even until turn 3. And by turn 3, he becomes even more cracked and more insane. And you can easily land huge damage numbers on your opponent's master if they fuck up. But going over the rest of the list here. Khalifa, in some ways, is a better Goku, but even though she's getting rid of all of her defense, she's going in the bottom left. You can easily put a meat shield out in front of her, and her losing defense doesn't really mean a damn thing at that point. And in the case of Omega Shenron, I forgot to go over him really quick. Yes, he's decreasing your own ultimate attack gauge by 10% each turn he's on the field, but look at his attack. Even if you don't have him fully duped into it, he's getting a 30% damage boost. And he's decreasing the damage taken by 10%. And one of his trigger squares goes behind arguably the best wall in the game, Vados. So for those reasons, he's very valuable. Don't sleep on him. But yeah, for the most part, the rest of the units on the list are self-explanatory. And some of you might even be wondering now, well wait, what about this Gohan? He kind of has a much lower attack compared to everyone else. Well, his trigger square really makes up for that, I would argue. 10% boost to his own damage out, ignore defense of the opponent, and plus 120 to own attack and speed for each opposing skill when placed, and after turn to warrior decided. So any character skill that's going off, he's getting an attack boost. It's absolutely insane. And look at how well his speed complements his attack. And while his HP is just average, the fact that he has that much HP with that much attack and speed makes him one of the best units in the game, arguably. But going over the rest of these guys, and I'll even say right now that I wanted to include Videl, but the reason I didn't is because she's mostly there for speed support. You trying to go first. Other than that, she's just okay. She's not really as much of an attacker or an offense unit as she is a support unit. But yeah, that's pretty much going to cover it for the what I consider to be the top 35 best offense units in the game. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Anything you feel like I missed that I should have gone over, feel free to leave them down below. And I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna go get some shut out here. Peace out.